Hello there, welcome to queuekit part 1.5. I'm going to jump backwards because I think this is more important for the Grails community than what I've done so far. So last night I was thinking, is there a way I can bind in the export plugin from Grails with the queuekit plugin? And I found a way to make it work, and it's quite simple actually. It didn't take that long, but just had sort of problems trying to get the more complicated stuff to work, so I can show you some demonstrations. So first of all, I've done this in Grails 3, obviously you can do it in Grails 2 as well. I'm going to have to roll out a later version. I've just changed some minor stuff, nothing really different, but some changes to how it checks stuff. I think if you don't configure the report at the moment in the config, it complains and breaks. So what I've done is I've added in my test site, I've added export plugin, and then I've followed the instructions and I've created some domain classes. I've got test export, which was my first example, and it's just got name and text. And then we've got test address, which has just got name and address. And then we've got test attributes. Now I haven't tested this properly. This is the video. I'm hoping everything will work fine. I did just do a basic test before starting the video and it seemed to be fine. So we've got the three domain classes. Then we've got, and this is going to be part of the project I'm going to upload, so you'll actually be able to go through it yourself. If I look into init bootstrap, what I've done is I've enabled, when it starts up, it creates some random entries in text export address and attributes classes that I've created. So we've got some entries to go. Then I've just done a create domain classes, done a generate all for the views and controllers. Then in the controllers, testing test address, for example, the test address. So this is what you would normally do in the listing to export. I've changed it now to, so that's commented out. I've put these two in with the, obviously with the queuekit plugin. Then I've added this stuff, and this is important. If you're going to go for the more advanced option, then you're going to need to provide this. And then what you do is you do the typical build report, but you're passing it to export plugin advanced, and that could be called something else at your end, but that is a service that I've got locally that then manages this, which will be the process of this going on within this, right? So I'll show you that in a minute, but before we get there, I'm going to show you the other controllers. So test address was that, test export is the same thing, but the only difference, sorry, test export uses export plugin example, and there's no params.domain class. If you notice, this one's got params.domain class, and it's the actual class that you would normally be querying, and that's wrong. That would be test address, not test export. Just copied it. So, and then that calls advanced. So if we look at test, let's see if I can show you in a better way. So really the two of them, they're both called in export plugin advanced. The only difference between them is that this one's called in test address and this one's called in test attribute. So if you had lots of different procedures that does the export process through the plugin, then you'd literally just use this method and just give it this, and then just pass it to queue and flash a message. And you'll see this in a minute. So that's what's done there. And the only difference now is for that test export, I've got its own service. And if you export plugin example, so for test export, it goes through here. It test export with transaction, export service, test export list, and that's what you would normally be doing in your controller. And now you're doing that as part of this. So if you just want different different services for different reports and configure them differently, then you do it this way. Otherwise, you could do a shared service method, which would be advanced, and you just copy this in and call it something else if you wanted to. But you kind of need to, where you've sent the domain class, it's a string now. You need to convert that back to the actual domain class, and when you've got the domain class, you connect to it. And then if it's instance of something, you do something, and if it's an instance of something else, and I don't think this bit's actually working this yet because I didn't get this output on my screen, so I need to work on this as well before I publish it to make it, for you to be able to maybe provide different values here or whatever that might be different for the different ones, so that you've got a shared method that you can use for your different domain classes. But I'll show you this quickly now anyway. So basically, as you've noticed, the controller was slightly different. It's calling the queuekit reporting service to do the export plugin stuff. Yeah. So here we go. Sorry, I've got a little cold as well again. It's fortunately. So we go for test address, and as I said, I've created some random entries, and I don't think XML is working, but the rest of them are. So if we click on Excel, we have test address, ODS, PDF, RTF, CSV, and then search. So that's our reports now done. Download, CSV, RTF, PDF, ODS, XLS, right? So if we go back to here again, and if we go back, and that was for the address. So if we look at that, if we go to attributes, which is using the same shared method, it should now call. So you can see here we've got the address details, and obviously it's up to you what you want to do for the fields. Don't save. We're in attributes now, so if we use the same method again, Excel, it says we're using test attributes now, search, and downloads, and we should have attributes in the exported columns. There we go, attributes. And if we just do the last one, which was using its own method, export control, and that's using its own method, Excel, RTF. I just wanted to try XML again. I'm sure it breaks. It does break. It might be the plugin, the actual export plugin. I don't know. But at the moment it's keeping them separate again. I'm trying to keep things separate and allowing you to have the flexibility to do what you want, so that the plugin doesn't restrict you and set you. That's the Excel one that's broken. The XML one, but the other ones are working. And I'll try and look into that problem. But there you go. In a nutshell, you can just literally have your export plugin go through the queuekit plugin, and then queue your reports to go through a queuing process, so that if your system's been running for many years and it's got loads of records and people click things and it takes long, you can just queue it. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.